Hi, welcome back. In today's video, we are going to look at the very persuasive art of speaking. Whether you are preparing for a political speech, whether you are preparing for a presentation to your boardroom, or just a meeting with your team, it's very, very important to prepare and keep your arguments ready. The more effective your speech is, the more effective you are going to be for your team or the political rally or the presentation to the board, whatever that may be. So let's dive in and see what are the components of the most effective speech. For the next few minutes, I'm going to paint a picture in terms of how a very, very effective argument series is going to happen. A set of arguments is what makes a very powerful speech. And there are three parts to it. One, when you open. Second, when you build your argument. Three, when you conclude and close your speech. All three are important. How do you open? How do you build your argument? And how do you close in terms of all your arguments put together nicely so that the audience remembers it very well is what makes a great speech a great, really memorable one. So let's dive in and see what happens and what makes a great speech really a great one. Let's start with the opening of the speech. The opening has to be very, very powerful because that is when you are either going to grab the audience attention or you're going to lose it, irrespective of what kind of speech it is. And the most famous examples are the political speeches or big presentations, but this is as good, as important, even in small meetings, small discussions. The opening, whatever you are going to say, has to be attention grabbing for people to stay with you. It could be a shocking statistic, it could be a powerful anecdote, it could be a powerful story that you start with. But whatever you do, you need to aim for audience attention grabbing. And obviously, whatever you are going to start with has to tie in with the rest of your speech. Otherwise, it won't be meaningful at all. So you need to start with something which is attention grabbing, and that something has to be very, very powerful. And that powerful one has to be tied to the rest of the speech. All three points are very, very important. But when you start very powerfully, people stay with you and people tend to remember what you spoke to them. A great example could be Martin Luther King's speech of I have a dream.
Even though we face the difficulties of today and tomorrow, I still have a dream. Yeah. It is a dream deeply rooted in the American dream. I have a dream that one day this nation will rise up and live out the true meaning of its creed. We hold these truths to be self-evident, that all men are created equal. I have a dream that one day on the red hills of Georgia, the sons of former slaves and the sons of former slave owners will be able to sit down together at the table of brotherhood. I have a dream.
So he didn't just talk about his points. He didn't just jump into, okay, I want to speak about 1, 2, 3. He painted a vivid picture in terms of his dream. He painted a vivid picture in terms of where he wanted his fellow countrymen to go. And that is why it is regarded as one of the greatest speeches of all time. You may not be interested in giving the greatest speech of all time, but remember, whatever people remember of your speech is going to be remembered because you gave a very powerful speech. We are all vying for attention, and in that attention game, if you are going to speak and if your speech is going to be remembered, it can be remembered only when you start with a very, very powerful manner so that people can stay with you. Let's jump in and see what the next part is. Now we progress to the next part of the speech, which is basically the body of the speech, which is where the main argument is. Typically, great, powerful speakers organize their arguments in parts of three. Point one, point two, point three. One, two, three. This is what I'm going to say because of this and therefore this. So it's all sequenced in terms of three, and there's a reason to it. When people talk in parts of three, it is easy to remember. Too few, people lose interest. Too many, if you talk about 10 points, 15 points, they may not be able to remember it at all. And three seems to be a magic number which is used by many, many powerful speakers, many, many powerful speeches. And hence, I would also recommend you go with the magic number three. So talk about and build your argument in terms of three. What you are going to say, the opening argument, why that point, the logic, and therefore what the audience has to take back, the closure. So point one, point two, point three, argument one, argument two building on top of argument one, argument three building on top of both and moving towards the conclusion. When you arrange your sequence, arrange your points like that, it flows very nicely and the audience is also able to stay with you, remember it very, very powerfully. Then comes the closure, and closing is also very, very important. And if you close well, you are remembered very, very well. If you don't close well, then you are seen, your speech is seen as a weaker one, even though you might have started very powerfully, even though you would have built your arguments powerfully. And hence, closure is also very, very important because that is what is going to be remembered for your speech. Let's see how to close powerfully. The closure, most of the time, is about giving a call to action. You opened up with a very, very powerful manner. You have given a statistic, you have shocked them with an anecdote, you have shocked them with your own compelling story, you have motivated them, you have inspired them. That is how you have started. Then you went on to build your argument as to why you are saying what you are saying. Now, to conclude, is all about whatever you have spoken, what the audience needs to do. So, what? What is it that they should remember? What is it that they should do? What is it that they are supposed to do as a sequence of, as a result of what they have heard you speaking right now? So that is CTA, call to action. And that's the most important part of your speech. You're speaking because you want to motivate people. You want to ask them to do something. You are getting something done and you want them to remember something. What is it that you want the audience to do? You need to be very, very clear. And in fact, the entire speech should be built towards this conclusion. You want the audience to go and buy your product, and therefore you need to start your speech in terms of what the products in the market are, and there could be fake products. And you know what? This is how you have built your technology. This is why your technology is better than anybody else. And therefore, please buy me. So that could be a call to action. Or you are talking in your company where you are talking about and persuading the team for a particular policy to be brought in. And your entire opening is about why the lack of that policy is becoming a problem. And you are painting a picture. Then you are building an argument in terms of why having that policy could be a great boon and why it is logical to have that policy. And therefore, what benefits people could get. That could be your body of the speech. And then you are building on to. Hence, therefore, your attention, the team's attention should be there in terms of bringing that policy and formulating like this. So while your entire argument opening and your body of the speech one, two, three is built towards call to action, your call to action has to be very, very clear so that people know what to do now that they have heard your speech. Now, what are the rest of the things that one needs to remember? How do you build a compelling speech? That's what we're going to see next. Building a compelling speech, building a powerful speech is not easy. Because there are so many things which are weighing for attention from people. There are so many things that people are worried about, and they're not going to stop and listen to you just because you are going to stand up and speak. So, what is it that you can do? Whenever you are building your speech, remember, you need to do three things. The power of three, the magic of three, I'm also using that. So, what are three things? One, you need to know your audience. Who are the audience? Who is going to listen to your speech? who's going to be there in that boardroom, who's going to be part of that audience where you are speaking on the podium. You need to know at least a little bit about them. The more you know about them, the better it is. Are you going to speak to a set of CEOs? Or are you going to talk to a set of students? Or are you going to talk to a set of parents? You need to know your audience so that the tailoring of the message can be done very powerfully, very well. Number two, you need to know and practice your delivery. Nothing can replace practice. You need to know what are the stories you are going to say, what are the arguments that you are going to put forth in front of this audience. If you're going to talk in front of the board and it's a board meeting, you're going to talk in front of the board of directors, you need to know exactly what is it that you are building towards, what is it that you want the board of directors to say yes or no to, and why is it good for the company, why is it good for you, why is it good for the team. All of this you need to have prepared and better practiced in terms of delivery. So when you practice, that practice helps you to visualize the entire speech. That practice helps you to visualize the entire flow of how you are going to build your argument. And when you do it in your mind, plus when you do it in front of your mirror or practice it in front of your friends or team, that also helps the team, that also helps you to identify weakness in your arguments and plug it in before that set of board of directors ask you questions. So it helps you to visualize the flow, visualize what arguments could come, visualize what weakness could be there in your arguments, and understand and be ready for it. That readiness also gives you a lot of confidence. And when you're confident, when you're over there, and when you're delivering the speech, that confidence transforms into a very, very powerful speech. The last one, you should be ready to use both sides of the brain. The left brain, right brain. The left brain is all about logic, rationale, and supportive arguments in terms of facts, figures, and statistics. The right brain is all about creativity, emotion, and a powerful speech combines the best of both worlds. You should talk about why you are doing, why you are asking them to do in terms of logic, and also from the benefit perspective, why it is going to be very, very beneficial, not only in terms of statistics, revenue numbers, top line numbers, bottom line numbers, but also paint a vivid picture, very emotional picture of what the benefit is going to be. When you're able to combine both logic as well as emotion, that speech is better remembered compared to a speech which gives only statistics, only dry run of what is beneficial for the company in terms of numbers. Numbers are very powerful, but emotion, when you add the layer of emotion on top of numbers, it becomes very, very powerful. So when you prepare everything in this manner, in terms of what you need to say, what your audience, and therefore why you need to say it, and how you are going to build, because this audience, this is very useful for them, and build that and prepare and practice, your speech is going to be very powerful and very confident. So there you are. We spoke about how to open the speech, how to build the speech, and how to conclude the speech, the three parts to the speech. We also talked about powerful techniques in terms of making your speech a very, very memorable one. Please practice. Let me know in case you have any questions, and see you in our next episode.